Okay, good morning, beloveds. I think I'm awake. I say that. It's hot. Like, hot. It is October 17th, 18th? 18th. I think it's the 18th. And it is 80 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, I am so over this weather. We went to the park. There weren't many squirrels. They took a bunch of trees out, which, I mean, honestly, there were several trees that one had been struck by lightning, a couple that just, because it's been so hot. So they needed to go. But, it's always shocking when you see tree stumps where there used to be trees. Although they have been planting new ones, so that's a good thing. But there weren't that many squirrels. And I guess the blue jays and the cardinals are off who knows where. I haven't seen hide nor hair of the woodpeckers either. So, but it is what it is. And there we are. And so, but we went over, rather than walking through the parking lot to get 2 miles, I asked if we could walk over. There's you could duck over into this other part where a small dog park is, and there's a loop around the lake. Did I want to do the whole loop? No, but I did want to walk, a little bit. And so we walked through there and, so that I could just, when we got back to the car, we could just get in the car and go. And I would have had my 2 miles. And so there we are. But it was hot. It was hot. It's hot. It's muggy. We may or may not get any rain. And apparently if we do, it'll be in the 4 o'clock hour. So, okay. Which is fine. All right. We are doing Your Spiritual Power. So let's do the housekeeping really quick. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. The website is creativelife.org. The constant contact email, info@creativelife.org. If you'll email that, that'll get you 1 email a week. Tells you what's going on for the week and the month. And the hot links are hot. It will, if it says click here now, it means it. It'll take you right to the information of the person that can help you get it. And it is a blind CC, which means nobody will see your emails. You won't end up on anybody else's email list because of us. So I hope you think it's worth it. And I do mean 1 a week. It's a real person doing it. He just doesn't have time for more than that, unless something unusual happens. At which point, I always point out, we do live in hurricane country. We've got we've got about 2 more weeks. I think hurricane season ends around the beginning of November. Although as hot as it is, I don't know. Now, Your Spiritual Power is a collection of Ernest Holmes' works. Some of his rare stuff, probably some of the smaller booklets that aren't really available anywhere else. Somebody gathered them up, put them together into a book, and this is what we are working our way through. We are currently doing Pray and Prosper, which I've never heard of. And I own a bunch of his little books. I own about 10 of them. And I'm really enjoying this one. Getting Ernest's thoughts on prayer has been really interesting when you consider that Science of Mind is Science of Mind, because Ernest noticed that Jesus had a pretty specific way of praying. So, which I think is really cool. So we are, if you're following along in the book, we are starting on page 171 with prayer and recognition. It's at the very bottom of the page. So we're actually going to go to 172 really quick. So the art of prayer arrives at a point of certainty when it recognizes the gift even before it is made. In the creative order, everything passes from the invisible into the visible through an act of idea manifesting itself as form. Therefore, Jesus told his followers to pray, believing that they had and they would receive. Recognition is an image of acceptance held in the mind until the condition accepted appears either in the body or in the affairs. We are either accepting or rejecting at all times. Okay, that's... we are either recognizing the divine principle as goodness or as evil. We cannot be too careful in studying to attain recognition. This really means that we must look into what appears to be an empty space, into a void, and see a solid rock upon which the feet of faith may be planted. That's an interesting way of putting it. Always the rock appears out of the void through recognition. The reason for this is plain. Everything Jesus said and did was descriptive of the divine nature and of the law of cause and effect. He knew how things work from the invisible to the visible, and when he told us to recognize and accept, he knew what he was talking about. We must learn to recognize the gift even before it is made. All right. Moving on to prayer as petition. All right. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. This petition is not to a faraway God who may or may not respond. It is the recognition of the divine presence, which is always ready and willing to respond. True prayer always says, thy will be done. An intelligent perspective of truth recognizes the will of God and the nature of the divine being are identical. God cannot will anything other than perfection. God cannot will anything other than abundance. God cannot will anything other than goodness, truth, and beauty. Submission to a superior intelligence, not to an opposing power. Our request is being made to a friend who we know is both able and willing to respond. Okay. Our request is made to a friend that we know is both able and willing to respond. That's a good way to think about it. You know, if we are going to a friendly presence, that may make it easier to accept what it is that we are asking for, rather than going to something that we're scared of. Therefore, the petition becomes a joyful recognition of the fact that before they call, I will answer. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. These words of Jesus give us an example of petition and acceptance. It is the recognition of the Spirit as a friend and the acceptance that this friend acts in our behalf immediately and with power that brings the answer. Do we not pray for a harvest when we plant a seed? Are not seed time and harvest two ends of one law of cause and effect? Petition and acceptance are two ways of recognizing the divine giving, which says, Child, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Okay. It is the recognition of Spirit as a friend. Yeah, I mean, I'm much more likely to ask a friend for something and believe that my friend is going to answer it than I am a stranger, which is why the point of spiritual practice, to get to know that divine presence within you, to make it your friend. It is your friend, but you need to recognize it as such. Okay, prayer as science. We should not think it strange to speak of prayer as scientific. Science is a knowledge of laws and causes. The principle of any science has always existed. The discovery of such a principle and a gradual accumulation of facts relative to it prepare the way for a technique for its use. This is also true of prayer. We know that throughout the ages, at all times and under all situations, prayers have been answered by some invisible agency, which apparently is no respecter of persons, times, races, creeds, or cultures, but which forevermore proclaims, whosoever will may come. The agency which answers prayer is not concerned over particular religious convictions. Never does it ask if we are intellectual, cultured, or ignorant. It responds alike to all. It is impersonal. But since some prayers have not been answered, it is self-evident that the power which answers must do so only under certain conditions. It is reasonable to assume that the one praying, either consciously or unconsciously, has supplied the necessary conditions which make possible the granting of their request. That there is a science of prayer, that prayer deals not only with the divine beneficence, but also with the law of cause and effect. It's kind of clinical to talk about prayer that way, but that's exactly it. It's the one praying is the one who supplies the conditions, either consciously or unconsciously. And that's the point. That is why Ernest taught what he taught. He's like, look, we're doing this all the time anyway. We might as well do it consciously, because when we do it consciously, we are far more successful. When we know what we want, we ask for what we want, and we accept what we have asked for, it's much more likely to be granted. The only thing left in that is to make sure that what we are asking for is in alignment with the divine, because the divine cannot go against its nature. So if we ask for something that is against the divine's nature, it can't say yes because it's out of its nature, So consciousness. That is that's what we're running with here. All right. Just because I counted out to the end, I'm going to go ahead and do one more today. We're going to do the art of prayer. And I think that's really interesting that he says the science of prayer and then immediately follows it with the art of prayer, because prayer is both a science and an art. When I look at cooking is an art, but baking is a science. Prayer is both. So let's see what he has to say about the art of prayer. Prayer is more than an intellectual petition. It is a thing of feeling, a creative act. Just as an artist feels beauty rather than sees it, we must feel the divine presence as warmth, color, and life, ever responding to us. There is an artistry in spiritual communion, a combination of mental attitudes, of states, of consciousness, of thoughts, of words, of feelings, which, combined, produce a subjective pattern of unity, harmony, and beauty. Prayer is both an art and a science. Yeah. Yep. Scientifically, it has form. Artistically, it has color, feeling, and conviction. Perhaps it is the finest of all arts. The approach to spirit is entirely a thing of feeling. This feeling arises out of conviction, an institutional sense, an inner witness. There is something within us which knew reality long before the conscious intelligence was born. We feel our way back to the original creative genius of the universe, the infinite artist whose creations are spread throughout time and space. And if you want evidence of the infinite artist, go watch a sunrise or a sunset. Go watch the clouds flit through the sky. Chase a rainbow. Watch a flower bloom. Watch a tree leaf out. All of that. That's an infinite artist. That is an infinite artist. I do appreciate that he says the approach to spirit is entirely a feeling thing. That is one of the things about science of mind. It is a balance of head and heart. You can only get so far with either one. If you go entirely on feeling, you're bound to get lost. If you go entirely with intellect, you just aren't going to get that far. You just, you'll get caught up in the minutia, and but you can do that with feeling too. Either way, you need them both. And that is, because I remember that's one of those things, when I got the practitioner's license, I was kind of like, ooh, how did this happen? And Jesse looked at me and he said, because you have a balance of head and heart. Okay. That's, to be a well-rounded person, you need both head and heart. Oh, and it's not just intellect. It is also wisdom, and wisdom is lived experience. So, yeah, I know. I was a gifted and talented child, and now I have crippling anxiety. I don't really have crippling anxiety. I have had crippling anxiety. I know what that's like. I don't anymore, and I've worked really hard to not have that. And part of that is getting to know who I am. You know, I do go to Spirit on a regular basis and say, show me who I am. Because it does help with that crippling anxiety. So, all right. There we are. That is the lesson for today. We will pick up tomorrow with the prayer of acceptance and do 3 more. We did 4 today because I had a little extra time, but I need to go give a cat a pill. So I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, and take care of yourself day, and take care of whatever it is you need to do today. A go have some fun day. A go take a walk in the park day. A throw peanuts to squirrels day. Cuddle your fur babies day. Drink plenty of water day. Stay out of the heat day. Be aware of the sun between 10 and 2 day. A pray for the cool front day. I can't even call it a cold front because I know where I live. A listen to some amazing music day. Read a good book day. Go to a book fair today. I'm contemplating that. A do something just for you day. Do something for somebody else day. There is nothing quite like getting out of your own way by going and volunteering. A whatever it is that you need day. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, because occasionally it is, I understand. Simply have a day. You are enough, just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are spirit in motion, God in action, a brilliant light and a brilliant light and a divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action. I think I've already said that. A beautiful masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time, at your own pace. And, as Reverend Jesse likes to call it, you are a godling. Okay? Explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be. Because the divine knows you to be good, and from there, anything is possible. All right, beloveds. I'm going to move on into the process of my day. So I'm going to take, I'm going to remind you, Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will probably be with you around 8:45 because I should go to the gym tomorrow. I'm going to text my trainer and find out. So 8:45 tomorrow, and then we'll have an amazing service for you. Reverend Jesse will be back on the stage he's back from his vacation. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.